Step back in time to 1888, to the foggy, gaslit streets of Whitechapel, London. A shadow falls over the city, a name whispered in terror: Jack the Ripper. For 10 weeks, this enigmatic figure held London in a grip of fear, committing a series of brutal murders that would become one of history's most infamous unsolved mysteries. Who was this phantom of the night? What drove him? Today, we are re-stepping into the darkness to explore the chilling psychological profile of a killer who was never caught, and delve into the long list of suspects who might have been the man they called Jack the Ripper. The year is 1888. Queen Victoria is on the throne, but in the impoverished East End of London, life is a grim struggle for survival. The area of Whitechapel is a maze of dark alleyways, overcrowded tenements, and cheap lodging houses. It's a world of poverty, vice, and desperation. This is the hunting ground Jack the Ripper chose. His victims were all women from the margins of society, vulnerable and easily targeted. But these weren't just random acts of violence. The precision and brutality of the attacks suggested something more, something deeply disturbed. The murders began in August and ended in November, a spree that left at least 5 women dead. They were known as the Canonical Five: Mary Ann Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, and Mary Jane Kelly. The nature of their injuries became progressively more severe, indicating a killer who was growing bolder, more confident, and perhaps more frenzied with each act. The mutilations performed on the victims suggested a familiarity with human anatomy, leading many to believe the Ripper could have been a doctor, a surgeon, or even a butcher. This expert knowledge, combined with the sheer audacity of committing these crimes in public, albeit dark spaces, painted a terrifying picture of the killer. He was not just a common criminal. He was methodical, organized, and seemingly invisible. So, what was going on inside the mind of this monster? Let's build a psychological profile. Modern criminal profilers, looking back at the case, suggest the Ripper was likely a white male between 25 and 35 years old. He probably lived or worked in the Whitechapel area, which would explain his ability to navigate the labyrinthine streets and disappear without a trace. He would have appeared outwardly normal, perhaps even charming, allowing him to gain his victim's trust. This is a classic trait of many organized serial killers: the ability to wear a mask of sanity to hide the chaos within. His motive was almost certainly not robbery. The victims were impoverished, and their few belongings were often left at the scene. The driving force was something much darker, likely a deep-seated rage and hatred towards women, possibly stemming from a personal trauma or a perceived rejection. The extreme violence and post-mortem mutilations point to a killer who was depersonalizing his victims, treating them as objects for his violent fantasies. He wasn't just ending lives. He was enacting a ritual of power and domination. The removal of organs from some victims could suggest a trophy-taking behavior, allowing him to relive the crime and feel a sense of ownership over his victims long after the act was committed. This killer likely felt a sense of omnipotence. He taunted the police and the public with letters, the most famous being the From Hell letter, which was sent with a portion of a human kidney. While many letters were hoaxes, some are believed to be authentic. If they were, they reveal a narcissist who craved attention and delighted in the terror he was creating. He was playing a game with the authorities, and for a time, he was winning. The pressure of his crimes led to one of the largest manhunts in London's history. But the Ripper always remained one step ahead, vanishing back into the shadows as quickly as he appeared. Then, as suddenly as it began, the killing spree stopped. Why? Did he die? Was he imprisoned for another crime? Or did he simply manage to control his urges and melt back into society? We may never know for sure. The abrupt end to the murders only deepened the mystery, and in the absence of a culprit, speculation ran wild. The list of suspects, both then and now, is astonishingly long and diverse, ranging from the plausible to the outright bizarre. Let's examine some of the most prominent figures. First, there's Montague John Druitt. A barrister and schoolteacher who came from a respectable family, Druitt's body was found in the River Thames in December 1888, shortly after the last canonical murder. His own family suspected him of the crimes, and his suicide so close to the end of the killing spree is certainly suspicious. Could the pressure of his dark deeds have driven him to take his own life? Then we have Søren Kolosowski, who went by the name George Chapman. A Polish immigrant who worked as a barber surgeon in Whitechapel, Chapman was a convicted and executed serial poisoner who murdered 3 of his wives. Inspector Frederick Aberline, one of the lead investigators on the Ripper case, famously said, "You've got Jack the Ripper at last." After Chapman's conviction, Chapman had the medical skills and was known for his misogyny. The method was different poison versus a knife, but some profilers argue that killers can and do change their methods. Another compelling suspect is Aaron Kosminski, a Polish-Jewish immigrant who worked as a hairdresser in Whitechapel. Kosminski suffered from severe mental illness and had a documented hatred of women, often experiencing auditory hallucinations. He was admitted to an asylum in 1891 and remained institutionalized for the rest of his life. Chief Constable Sir Melville Macnaghten, in internal police documents from 1894, named Kosminski as one of 3 top suspects, noting his strong homicidal tendencies. More recently, some authors have claimed to have DNA evidence linking Kosminski to a Shaw said to have been found at the Catherine Eddowes murder scene, but these claims are highly debated and controversial within the scientific community. The list doesn't stop there. Other suspects include Michael Ostrog, a Russian con man and thief with a history of being institutionalized; John Pizer, a local bootmaker who was nicknamed Leather Apron and was briefly arrested due to public suspicion; and even more outlandish theories, pointing to figures like the artist Walter Sickert, who painted grim scenes of the London underworld, or even a member of the royal family, Prince Albert Victor, Duke of Clarence. These more sensational theories, however, lack credible evidence and are generally dismissed by serious historians. Each suspect presents a tantalizing piece of the puzzle, but none fit perfectly. Druitt's timeline has some inconsistencies. Chapman's method of killing was different. Kosminski's sus physical and mental state might have made it difficult for him to carry out such organized attacks. The case is a web of circumstantial evidence, hearsay, and speculation. The police of the 1880s lacked the forensic tools we have today. There was no fingerprinting, no DNA analysis, no sophisticated criminal profiling. They were battling a new kind of terror with limited resources. And so, Jack the Ripper remains a ghost, a legend born from a very real nightmare. The case has spawned countless books, films, and documentaries, a testament to our enduring fascination with the unknown. He was a monster who emerged from the societal cracks of Victorian London, a symbol of hidden evil lurking beneath the veneer of civility. His identity is lost to time, but his legacy of fear and mystery is as potent today as it was over a century ago. The shadows of Whitechapel may no longer hide a killer, but they hold one of history's greatest secrets. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into one of history's most chilling cold cases. It's a story that reminds us how truth can sometimes be stranger and more terrifying than fiction. If you found this investigation fascinating, please hit that like button and subscribe for more journeys into the mysteries of the past. Let me know in the comments which suspect you think is the most likely. Stay curious, and we'll see you in the next video.